Hello and welcome. You've joined us on a very special broadcast this Wednesday evening on ET Now. Over the next 30 minutes, all that you need to know about Google's India play with me, Nitya Balakrishnan. Now, he is the man who literally drives the way you and I live in today's world. From everyday communication via Gmail to the maps that we use for navigation, Google's Sundar Pichai created quite a stir in the capital today. It was Indian-born Pichai's first official visit to New Delhi after taking over as CEO of Google. And in the capital this morning, he spoke about Google's India play. From the controversial loon to power India's rural internet penetration to how constraints actually help inspire creativity. He referred to the possibility of an Android out of the Indian subcontinent in the days to come. And interestingly, the man with a corner office at one of India's biggest tech majors and global tech major had to interview with Google for 8 rounds before landing a job with them in 2004. And his first interview with them was on April Fool's Day. Let's listen in then to the man who spoke out in support of Silicon Valley's Muslim population, stressing on unity and strength in diversity as being one of the core values that will eventually drive growth in the modern world. Sundar Pichai and his pitch for Google for India.
Every day there are thousands of Indian internet users who are coming online for the first time, beginning their journey in computing. And we want to make sure we as Google are serving those users. So a lot of what today is about is how we build products for the next billion Indian users yet to come online. We do that by staying focused on our mission. As Google, we've had this mission to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. For me, what inspired me to join Google was the fact that Google search worked the same whether you were a professor at a great university like Stanford or a poor kid in a rural part of the world. If you had access to a smartphone or a computer with connectivity, you got the same great search experience. And this notion that we build products for everyone is near and dear to my heart, and that's what a lot of today is about. Mobile is really changing the game, and with the number of people on smartphones, we can really get to do this at scale. So today we are going to talk about our approach. It has 3 main aspects to it. First, we want to bring access to as many people as possible. Everything we are going to talk about today is meaningless unless you can get connected. It's the foundation of everything you do. So bringing access is really important. Second, once people get access, we want to make sure we can give them the information they want and make sure our products are working for them in a meaningful way. Third, when people come online, we don't want them just to be able to consume the internet. We want them to add their voice back. We want them to shape the internet. So we're building platforms which allow people to create, upload, share, and contribute back to the internet. So we'll talk about that as well. Let's get started with access. Getting people connected is a foundational goal. This is why just a few months ago, we announced the largest public Wi-Fi project in the world. We are partnering with RailTel and Indian Railways to bring connectivity to over 400 railway stations across India. This will cover 10 million passengers every day. We are on track to get 100 stations online by the end of the year, by end of 2016. And as I speak, the team is setting up infrastructure in Mumbai Central and testing it out right now. We expect it to go live in January, be live in Mumbai Central where people can get access to Wi-Fi, and we'll have many more stations coming soon right after that. In addition, we are working on Project Loon. Project Loon is our initiative to get balloons up in the sky so that you can provide internet to hard-to-reach rural areas. We think it could make a lot of sense to reach rural areas in India, and we are exploring ways to bring our service to India, especially in rural areas. Talking about rural areas, it's striking that in rural areas, even though there is connectivity in many areas, there are certain segments of the population which don't get access to it, women in particular. Less than 1/3 of internet users in India are women, and the number is far lower in rural areas. So we've been thinking about how to change that, how to get women to understand the opportunity that the internet represents. So a few months ago, we launched a pilot program in partnership with Tata Trust. And we are literally rolling it out to speak. We have bicycles, and women can take them from village to village and teach other women how to use the internet with smartphones. And we have done this across 1,000 villages in India in 3 states, and what we've learned is humbling and inspiring. The program is working so well that we are significantly expanding it from a pilot to a full-scale national program. So over the next 3 years, we are going to reach 300,000 villages, which is half of the villages in India, and we are fully expanding it to a national program. And I'm really excited at the opportunity to help more women understand what the internet is all about. So we've talked about connectivity, and it's a journey. We're doing many projects to bring connectivity. Second area I want to focus on is, once you have connectivity, how does Google work better for you? And we do that primarily by investing in Android. Android has enabled hundreds of millions of users in India to have access to smartphones. In fact, in 2016, there'll be more Android users in India than in the United States. So the change is pretty profound for us. The way we are influencing the Android ecosystem in India is by Android One. We launched it in India, and we are now in over 20 countries. Just like we do the Nexus program in the United States and in the developed worlds, we use Android One to help guide the ecosystem and get them to make higher quality, more affordable smartphones. And the program is working, and when we go around retail stores in India, we see evidence of a lot of choice and high quality, affordable smartphones, and increasingly they are running the latest version of Android. We are working hard to make Android work better for those users. For example, in Marshmallow, we've really focused on improving battery life. One of the things we are doing with Android is we realize most of users in India don't use English. So we're working hard to make sure we can take Android and make it work for many more Indic languages. Android already now supports 7 Indic languages, and we are taking our mobile applications like YouTube and making it work in many Indic languages as well. YouTube now works in 10 Indic languages. The keyboard input in Android is now supported by over 11 languages. To really help users consume content which is not in English, we are working hard on Google Translate as well. It gets used a lot in India. You know, we make Google Translate better by using real computer science, but we have learned for places like India, leveraging the local community helps make the product much better. We recently had a big marathon, we call it a Translate-a-thon in India, where we had 20,000 volunteers contribute translations. And we translated over 1 million new Hindi words, and so that we can now understand and help users translate it. So these are big changes we are doing in our products to make sure they work for non-English users. We're also making sure our products work for users who have limited connectivity. Sometimes you only have 2G, or maybe you even go offline. So how do we make our products work better? A few things. The search team launched something in India called Streamlined Search. And they made the search page much lighter, and they found it loaded much faster and consumed a lot less data. Looking at the traction they got, they've expanded it to all of the web, and so they have a product which is called a lighter version of the web, Web Lite, and it loads 4 times faster and consumes 80% less data. We are now rolling it out globally in many other countries. We are making our products work offline. Earlier this year, we announced Maps offline, and it's working really well. And with YouTube, we announced YouTube offline with Android One a year ago, and now we have rolled that to over 77 countries globally. People love YouTube offline, and we are adding 2 new features. We are making it possible so that you can preset the time in which you want your videos downloaded. That way you can download it when data rates are cheaper. You can also download the videos in background and continue browsing so that the video is ready for you to go. These all sound like small details, but for us, it's about making sure as the next billion users come online using smartphones with limited connectivity, it works really, really well. The third part is about once people come online, how do we create platforms so that they can give back to the internet? And in this area, we are focused on 3 constituencies: developers, content creators, and small businesses. Let me talk about small businesses first. Using Google My Business, there are over 2 million businesses in India which have come online, and they've established a presence on the internet. And once they come, they use products like AdWords to help scale up their products. We are really focused on developers and startups. They already take advantage of Google Play, which is a tremendous platform on which many, many companies are building their success. But we want to invest a lot more. Our friends at Google Capital have already invested in a few Indian startups, and they just announced that their first hire outside the US will be in India. We want to help these startups even better. So we just recently announced $20 million to help thousands of today's best and brightest startups to grow and scale. And we'll do that by giving each of them $20,000 in cloud credits and support. But we want to focus on developers because in the end they are the ones who create newer companies, build new things. So I'm super excited that we are launching a new training program to help train 2 million new Android developers in the next 3 years. And we are doing that by partnering with over 30 universities and working with the National Skill Development Corporation. And we'll be getting more details out soon, but it's a very, very ambitious program to train 2 million developers, and I can't wait to see what they all build next. We're also focused on content creators. YouTube has been a huge source for many, many content creators. They can put their talent at work and reach audiences. We had seen in India YouTube creators mainly upload short form videos. But over the past year, it's increasingly changed to long-form content. Today, people upload full-length movies, and they get billions of views. In fact, what's interesting is in YouTube, in India, when content creators put their content, over 60% of their views come from outside India. Shows the power of internet as a global platform so that you can reach many more users. So we want to make all of this work better. So we recently announced a YouTube space in Mumbai, and we are partnering with India's leading film school, Whistling Woods, so that they can support local creators to create more content. And we can't wait to see what they come up with. Talking through all of this, it may sound like we are doing a lot, but in my opinion, we are just barely getting started. We have realized, we have taken it to heart, when we build products, when we make in India, it eventually makes its way to a global scale. And given that India is embarking on the cutting edge of mobile revolution, we think what we build in India will apply globally to many, many places. A couple of examples which we have recently encountered. A few years ago, we built 2 engineers in our Indian office, came up with the idea for MapMaker. They realized there's not good mapping data available in India, and so they allowed users to create and edit maps so that you can create and contribute what you see as geographical information. We now see it being used globally. In the US, people add new roads. In Philippines and Pakistan, people mapped flooded regions. And so MapMaker really is working at a global scale. Streamlined search, YouTube offline, all those ideas which we launched in India first and tested it here is now working for us globally. So we have taken this to heart, and we really want to invest more in India. When I joined Google in 2004, we just had 2 offices, Bangalore and Hyderabad. They were early development centers. Fast forward to today, we have 4 offices, and we have over 1,500 people in India building products not just for India, but globally. And I'm excited to announce that we've just confirmed plans to ramp up our engineering investments in India significantly. So we're going to be hiring both in Bangalore and Hyderabad, and more importantly, to scale up not just our engineering, our business operations. We are going to be building a huge new campus in Hyderabad over the coming years. So today you're going to hear along the outline of what I just talked about from a cross-section of Google's product leadership as to how we are getting all of this done. But before I go, I just wanted to end by saying thank you. This country has given me and Google so much that I hope we can give much more in return to India in the months and years ahead. Thank you, and look forward to talking to you all more.
Now, even as Google commits to India's digital revolution, mobile marketing and advertising is bound to take center stage. ET Now's Sonali Krishna caught up with Jason Sparrow, Vice President of Global Performance Solutions, to actually get a sense of how Google is adapting to the Indian environment and what are the plans for this particular division in the months ahead. Let's listen in then to this exclusive conversation.
Data is undeniable at this point. There was a while where people were saying, yeah, well, mobile is just for entertainment, or it's just for texting, or it's just for these kinds of things. But on pretty much every metric that we track, mobile is now having an impact. It's having an impact on video viewing, as video is shifting, and it's a place to engage. It's having an impact on purchases. It's very clear that there's a lot of commercial value being created in mobile. And so I think we're past the moment of yes, no, should we invest here? And I think we're into the period of how can we make best use of this medium.
Okay, fair enough. I'm only asking that question because, several global marketers we speak to, and I'm keeping the context global for now before I come to India,
sure.
Seem to suggest that, that they're investing, and some of them are very aggressively investing. For instance, let's talk about, Mondelez and Bon & Bo there, who's really, very, very keen on mobile. But a lot of other marketers seem to suggest that, because there is no real measurable data to tell you what is your ROI, it kind of gets a little bit, difficult to tell how much really you should be spending on this device.
Well, I can't speak specifically to the Mondelez case that you're referencing, so I'm less familiar, but I actually am surprised to hear that people don't think there's data. I think what we see is if people apply the desktop model of did I convert in that session and get to a confirmation page, certainly people are buying things on mobile. And as we get better with payment credentials and all of that, it's getting better. But what marketers are coming to realize is you have to look at a cross-device journey. You have to look at how people move between PCs and mobile and back again. You also have to think about how the digital experience influences what you do in the physical world. So many people are standing in front of something in a store making a decision. And the digital can influence the physical, and the physical can influence the digital. So what I would say is we are able to build closed-loop ROI models for most of our customers in most categories now. And I think that people are starting to get used to that level of precision.
So, so that's interesting that you say that because, for instance, Martin Sorrell, who seems to be, a frenemy of sorts for Google, seems to constantly suggest that the problem with, let's say, tracking of this data in terms of sheer measurability stems from the fact that, you're playing referee as well. So there is no real third-party, measurable, credible system that can actually track that, and that really therein lies the problem. For traditional advertising, whether it's effective or not, and that's a different debate, right? We still have a third-party, institution that gives us data saying that this is what happened.
Yeah.
Whereas for Google, Facebook, and anything else, maybe even Twitter, right? They give you their analytics, so it's you're playing referee as well.
Well, I get that metaphor. I've heard the fox guarding the hen house, yes? I guess I would say a couple of things. I think most marketers understand that Google Analytics is an arm's length product, that the church and state separation is real, and the data is not commingled. I also think that DoubleClick is a known platform for measuring media that people understand is motivated as a technology play separate from the media, and you can buy other media with DoubleClick as well. So I think that while most people would love to have a sort of a universal third party, the nature of our industry right now is that you have to have a certain insight into the data. And so I don't find people who are holding back on mobile because we're the ones doing the measurement. We try to be as transparent as we can based on our sort of privacy rules that we have with the consumer. So I do think this media is measurable. I do think this media is measurable specific to Google media separate from others. As an industry, I would love to have something that's universal, and I think the Nielsen ComScore model is now there for video, and we have partnered with them to understand viewability and all of that.
I was reading one of your recent interviews, and you actually talked about the fact that a lot of people, let's say in the last couple of years, have gone the app way.
Yes.
And that might necessarily not be the right way because finally you have a limited number of apps that you'd possibly have on your phone.
Yes.
And something that I will only use regularly. So give me your sense of, if that's your spiel currently to marketers, that, don't everybody can't blindly go down the app route. What would your recommendation be now?
So I guess the way I'd frame it is this, and I'm going to give you sort of not an Indian perspective, and I'll come back to the Indian market specifically, which may be unique, and that's why we're paying so much attention. What we've learned from the journey that we've been on in other markets is that the market seems to be settling as an and, not an or. The market seems to be settling that apps are for your best customers. right? And that may, if you're doing a really, really good job, be 7, 8, 9% of your customer base. If you're Starbucks or you're Geico or you're one of these, you're doing a great job if you get high single digits % of your loyal audience on your app. The other 90-something% is going to engage you on the mobile web. And the mobile web is getting better every day. And so for most of our customers, they're now investing in parallel as the and, not the or.
Okay.
Two exceptions to that. There are any number of companies that we all know that are born in mobile and born as apps. And I would identify the Ubers and Grubhubs and Instacarts of the world in the US, where these businesses have been very, very successful only as apps and only in mobile.
Sure.
Which brings me to India, and I think the phenomenon, both because of some of the network challenges with bandwidth and 2G and 3G networks and all of this, we see any number of businesses having a lot of success as being very, very app-focused. I do think some of the biggest ones that have been the most high profile have recently concluded that a high-power, well-designed mobile website is a critical part of their offering. So I think where it's settling, if you look at Flipkart and others, is certainly the mobile app is a centerpiece of our offering. We're going to try to get as many people onto that as possible. But we also recognize that the mobile web has a huge role to play, and I don't think we've found equilibrium yet in India.
Now, as India goes digital, online advertisements are beginning to play a key part in marketing and sales as well. Sonali also caught up with Simon Khan, Google's Chief Marketing Officer for the Asia-Pacific region, to find out which exactly were the TDP on ads as far as YouTube and how mobile is playing an increasingly important part of the online advertising market.
It's very exciting. It's wonderful that we've had this YouTube leaderboard, and there's been some terrific work that's happened all throughout the year. The number 3 ad is actually coming from Birla Sun Life Insurance. So it's a Kudkar Ko Bulan. Yes, thank you. Which is a beautiful, really heartwarming ad.
Wow, okay. The Aditya Birla guys must be very happy. But before I move to the second, give me a sense of how you really rate the top 10 ads on the YouTube leaderboard year on year. What are the metrics that go into actually getting those top 10 spots?
So it's a combination of looking at the number of views that the ads are actually getting, plus also what's the support they're getting from both paid views and organic views.
Okay.
And essentially, it's really how are these ads resonating with customers and with people throughout the country, and it's a popularity contest.
So what is the difference between a paid view versus, let's say, an organic view?
Right, so the combination of paid and organic determine the ads leaderboard and the winners in that ads leaderboard. So paid views are coming from ads that are created and promotions that are created by the brand,
right,
and then having people click onto that and then viewing the ad. And of course, organic is people coming to it from other sources or just finding it through word of mouth and then typing it in and going to look for the ad.
Okay, great. Give me the second most popular ad of 2015 on YouTube.
So the second ad is from Lifebuoy. It's Chamki,
okay,
which is a wonderful piece about, of course, washing hands in order to keep children safe.
One looks at these ads that actually do well. So even if you look at number 3, right, the Birla Life Insurance ad, or you look at the Lifebuoy Chamki ad, we see a common thread, which is that it's all a social cause. At least between 2 and 3, I don't know what number 1 is, but do you think that's a common trend, at least on YouTube, where there are, significant views, that a lot of emotional, social causes get a lot more views? We also know that the other formula is kids, animals,
That's
cats.
a classic formula, right? Actually, what I would say is I think the common really theme throughout all of these is engagement. It's finding something that connects with the customer or with the person in a really deep and meaningful way. Sometimes that can be humor, and other times it can be something that's sort of more heartwarming. And so certainly for the first 2 that we've talked about, it's about heartwarming. And yes, it's a good social cause, and that's important, but I think really it's about telling a wonderful story and having that story connect in a very human way with the people.
Right, right. So let's come to the number 1 spot for 2015 on YouTube, and which one is that?
So we're delighted to have MTS Internet Baby be the number 1 spot.
Oh, okay, that's the sequel as well.
A sequel as well.
That's a funny one. That's a funny one. So there again, the baby formula works there as well.
Funny baby, exactly, a great formula.
See, if you look at the Indian context and how Indian marketers are approaching digital, it's really very linear because they're not really that involved in their digital creativity, so to speak. And we take great pride in beating our own country down because we can be critical. It's because they're just using their television format and that specs to just offload onto YouTube, and that's what they call digital. So there hasn't been any real exploration of what the digital medium can really do. Are you in agreement?
I would not agree at all. I think there's some really interesting and innovative work that's coming out of India. So, for example, with the YouTube leaderboard, all 3 of the top ads are long form. They're over a minute.
All of them run on TV as well.
That's fine, shorter versions, right? So I think that the medium of YouTube gives you that opportunity to tell a much broader story. You can do breakouts of components of stories. So there's a lot more creativity that you can put into it. And so I'm seeing that happen quite a bit. The other thing that's happening is India is a mobile-first nation, and more advertisers and brands in this market are thinking mobile-first. How do they connect with their customer in a mobile environment?
Okay. So what are you saying, that we're pretty ahead of the curve?
Well, I'm saying that it's certainly not anywhere close to what it will be in just a few years. So we're in the early stages of that. But that's the same case, what I'm seeing in virtually all of Asia.
Oh, really?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So you're saying if you look at Asia specifically, we're not that behind?
Yeah, I'd say that there are some markets like, let's say, Australia, where Australia is closer to what's happening in the UK or perhaps the US. But in a lot of other markets, for example, Japan tends to be fairly conservative and takes a very TV-first approach.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of the innovation I see happening is actually happening in Southeast Asia and in India.
And on that note, we're absolutely wrapped out on this special broadcast on Google's India Play and Sundar Pichai's idea really for the company and the Indian market in the days to come. From the entire team that put this show together, thanks for watching and keep it with ET Now.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.